You're going to be creating a color chart of tones. So you're going to take the paper I give you and you're going to write color chart tones, okay, 4 tones. You're going to take a ruler and watch how I use the ruler to create boxes for the colors you're going to create, okay? So you're going to follow my directions. You can see how I'm moving the ruler along and placing a line. Now you're going to write over that first block equal amounts of blue and orange, okay? Then you are going to write plus white, okay? I wrote plus sign and then plus white, but you can just write plus white if you wish. And then you're going to write plus white because you are going to be adding even more white into the mixture, as you will see. That extra little box there, I actually even added more white. So I created the color, which is the original tone, blue and orange, mixed that together. Then I added some white, I added even more white, and then the final block, even more white. So you are not going to be mixing color until we have all of these blocks drawn out. So once you see how this is completed before we have any paint, you're going to create this chart exactly the way I am showing you right now. You can see I wrote equal amounts of violet and yellow. Violet is the same as purple, so equal amounts of purple and yellow. Same thing, plus white, plus more white. Then you are going to create one more row, exactly the same as the other two. And on this one, you're going to be writing equal amounts of red and green. So these are the basic complementary color sets: blue and orange, violet and yellow, and red and green. So once you have this created the way I have shown you here, you are going to be using the color I give you. You do not need a ton of color. You can always add more color to your palette. This could be for 3 people. I mean, we do not need this much color. But you can see I have the primary colors here. I have yellow and I have blue. I'm mixing up the orange. That is for the first block where we're doing equal amounts of blue and orange. So I have to make an orange first. You don't have any colors but the primary colors. So once you have an orange that looks good, like a nice true orange, we're going to add in the blue, okay? And you are going to get a brown from this. And you can see that it is turning into a rich brown color. And once you have that thoroughly mixed, you are going to carefully paint it into that first block. It can be, as neat as you can. Does not have to be perfect, but I don't want to see it completely sloppy. Now, plus white. So I'm going to get that white paint that I have already poured out, and I have some on the brush. That is plenty for right now. And then I'm going to be mixing that right into that tone of blue and orange. So now you can see it is becoming more like a skin tone. And I'm painting that right into the second block. Once I have that complete, I'm going to get even more white and put it right into that mixture I already have created so that it is even lighter in tone. So when you're mixing colors, I've asked you to use equal amounts of the complementary colors, but what you're going to discover, hopefully, as you paint in this project, or as you continue to paint later, that different amounts of the complementary colors will yield different tones. So when you are painting outside and you're looking at the green of the grass, or you're looking at maybe corn in a field, you can assess what colors you need, and you'll be able to mix that color exactly. So there, I have the tone and then 3 versions of a lighter color of that tone. Now I'm going to create a tone for the violet and the yellow. So I first have to mix up a violet, so I need to put together red and blue, and that is going to create the purple or the violet that we need. That's one part of the complementary color. And then into that, we're going to be putting the yellow. So you're going to get a kind of a brown, but it is a little bit more, it might look like when you see the white in there, it might be more of a mazy looking color, like a color you see in dried grass. So I'm gonna paint that right into there. It is very similar. And again, the different ratios of complementary color is going to yield a different tone. So this is a slightly, maybe a little more purple to it. And then when I add the white into it, you're going to see that change to something that looks a little rosier than the blue and orange tones. And again, you know, the amount of color you use is going to determine what this final tone looks like. So there it is, plus white, and then I'm going to add even more white, and I'm going to continue on with the next block once we're finished with this one. So if you want to stop the video and you want to work that way, so every time I make another color, you can go ahead and mix up your color and then apply it and continue the video as you complete these blocks. If you feel like you don't need to watch me filling in every square, you can certainly speed it up a little bit. And now I'm going to put in that final white. And if you don't feel like it is enough of a change, if it's not getting any lighter, like I put a little bit of darkness in there, so I'm going to add a little more white to that so I can see the difference. I'd like to see the difference. So you might have to add a fair amount of white towards the end. And every time you're changing color from the blue and orange row, the violet and yellow row, and when you get down to the red and green row, you need to clean your brush. You need to rinse it out in clean water, or at least make sure your water jar is not really, really dirty. and then wipe it clean with a paper towel. So you're going to be needing paper towels for this. You're going to need a jar of water for this. You're going to need a brush that's basically the brush that I have in my hand. It's not really skinny and it's not that fat, and it's tapered towards the end so you can get into those little crevices. Now I just pointed to red and green, so I'm making the green. It's important that you make a green that is a true green before you put the red in there, because we're trying to see the difference. These are very similar, as you can tell, but we are looking for differences in these tones, and they all have a little bit of either a warmer brown. Some of them are more towards a gray. And as I said before, the different amounts of colors that you add is going to result in a different tone, okay? So you can see that this one is a much darker color, and it has more towards the, it looks a little cooler than the other ones. And if you do paint, and it's something you like to do, the more you mix colors, the more you're going to see the color combinations of things. Okay, so now you have your color chart, and what I'd like you to do is to take the image that you're working with and have a look and see if any of the colors you created match the colors in your image. So in this image, I can see, some similarities in some of these tones here, okay? However, I do not see this color, okay? So these are equal amounts of the complementary colors. But in mixing color, sometimes you're gonna have to add more of a particular color. For example, in this skin tone, it's a lot of yellow in it. So you are going to have to experiment as you're mixing to match this color. So you might start out with yellow, and you're just adding a tiny bit of the violet into it. And then you're adding your white, okay? So you're not always going to be able to match something with these colors. There are times when you are going to have to kind of look at something and assess, I think that this is a blue and orange mixture. However, there's a lot more orange in there than blue. Or you might say, this looks like yellow with a tiny bit of violet in it, and then adding white to it. So that is how you become skilled at matching the colors that you see, all right? So this is your starting point, but this isn't going to encompass every color. So as I look at other ones, if we take a look at this one, I can see that this is really so much more orange than anything I have up here. So if I were to say more orange and a little bit of blue, and probably not that much white, but this is going to take a little bit of time to mix. You might not get it on the first time. You might have to mix a couple colors. And as I look at this jacket, I'm seeing a brown, probably orange and blue, And then it might even have to have some violet in there as well. So it really comes down to different ratios of the primary colors plus white. And sometimes you're gonna add black. Now, you can just use black paint for a big area of black, but you could also try to mix a little bit of black into a complementary color set. Now, when I get into something like this, I can see that could be very similar, and it's also a little different on this computer than what I'm seeing in reality. Of course, the yellows might just be yellow and white in some instances. So that is what I want you to do. And does it happen immediately? Can you always get the color right away? No. You know, that's part of the experimentation of this project, okay? So if I'm looking at some of these red tones, I can definitely see that is matching that color right there. And you know, you can look at this, and that's matching that. Maybe that needs a little more yellow in it. So that's the goal of this project.